As his hopes of a second term fade further away, a defiant Donald Trump is claiming without evidence that he's been the victim of electoral fraud. These are the 4 states that are still in play, but tonight it's the battlegrounds of Georgia and Pennsylvania that could decide the result as soon as tonight. With his opponent on the verge of victory, the president is lashing out, claiming the election has been stolen from him through fraud and illegal voting. We'll get the latest from those key states with our correspondents shortly, but we start tonight with Greg Jennett after another extraordinary day.
When your vote's been counted, when you're satisfied you've ushered a new order into the White House,
we definitely need change here, hopefully for the better.
Trump and Pence get an eviction notice.
it pays to reckon on the power that still lies deep within.
They're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election, and we can't let that happen.
With 2 days to stew on it since he last spoke publicly, Donald Trump's disgorged a diatribe of damnation, a disaster, an election stolen with fraud, horror stories, corrupt conduct and secret counts, the president complained. He's transparent about the blanket national rule he wants applied, though, that all counting had to stop everywhere on election night, and any vote examined after that, null and void.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us.
The charge of electoral theft comes without evidence. It's only a presidential decree, and he's inviting the courts to agree with him.
We think there's going to be a lot of litigation because we have so much evidence, so much proof.
The number one thing that Donald Trump can do in this election is fight each and every one of these battles to the death.
Team Trump's next wave of lawsuits will apparently cite duplication of ballots and barriers to independent monitoring. It's already launched actions to halt counting in several tight states. One court in Michigan flatly refused. That leaves angry Republicans and Democrats going at it daily in Detroit, arguing about rules and transparency in the count that tipped Michigan Joe Biden's way.
From the highest office in the land, Donald Trump signalling to the sparring parties here that this truly is an election worth fighting for. They hardly needed convincing. The president's set to launch electoral challenges on an almost industrial scale. He's doing it, he says, in defence of integrity, in the name of fairness and in the pursuit of victory. It's a winner-takes-all play, and it puts everything on the line in places like this, with only a thin blue one to protect all concerned. Greg Jennett, ABC News, Detroit.
Let's bring in our US Bureau Chief David Lipson, who's outside the White House. David, how should we read Donald Trump's claims of tremendous corruption?
Jeremy, I think with a great deal of scepticism. The president has again prematurely claimed that he has won this election, and he's again claimed without any real evidence that there is mass voter fraud going on. Now, the courts will determine whether or not that is true, but in the meantime, it's worth looking at the study done in 2017 that estimated the rate of voter fraud in the United States at 0.0009%, and there's no indication that the increase in mail-in ballots that we've seen this year has changed that number by any great deal.
And David, what are we hearing from the Biden camp?
Well, they are growing more confident by the hour. In fact, there are reports that the Secret Service is sending additional troops to be by Joe Biden's side in the expectation that he will claim victory sometime in the coming hours. Don't expect, by the way, Donald Trump to make a concession speech anytime soon, but it is looking more and more like just a matter of time before Joe Biden reaches that magic number of 270 votes. It's worth keeping an eye as well on the senior Republicans around Donald Trump as he appears to continue to refuse to accept those votes, starting with the Vice President Mike Pence, who tonight tweeted, "I stand by President Trump," but when the president actually made his statement, moment, Mike Pence wasn't physically standing by his side. In these moments of crisis, those optics are quite significant. There are other senior Republicans falling in behind Donald Trump, like Lindsey Graham, the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who has left open the possibility of the Pennsylvania legislature defying the will of the people and actually handing electoral votes to Donald Trump, even if he loses the vote in that state. Now, that would be a serious escalation of what is already a crisis. So it looks like this still does have some way to play out.
David Lipson in Washington. One of the few things the pundits did predict correctly was the importance of the state of Pennsylvania. Counting is still continuing there tonight, and the result could deliver Joe Biden the presidency. With the latest on the state of play, here's Chief Election Analyst Anthony Green.
The US election is entering its final stages, and at this stage, Donald Trump is trailing Joe Biden by just under 4 million votes. But it's not the national vote that decides the election, it's the Electoral College, and that's coming down to the last 2 states. In Georgia, Joe Biden is just 1,200 votes behind and narrowing the gap as the count continues. And the most important state is Pennsylvania. Joe Biden is now just a fraction of a percent, only about 18,000 votes behind Donald Trump. And all estimates are that he's going to overtake Donald Trump in the final counting. And that's 20 Electoral College votes. And those 20 Electoral College votes elect Joe Biden as the next president of the United States.
Anthony Green there, and with that race on a knife's edge, division in Pennsylvania is running deep. The state is already embroiled in a legal dispute over ballots, and supporters of both candidates are on the streets of the biggest city. North America correspondent Catherine Diss reports from Philadelphia.
In the city where the nation was founded, 2 Americas on display. As votes were counted, the margins only tightened and the arguments escalated.
What we're seeing on the streets of Philadelphia sums up America. On one side, we have those supporting Joe Biden. On the other, those backing the President Donald Trump. If anyone thought this was going to be a landslide victory, they were wrong. What we're seeing here is a nation deeply divided.
This is where the Constitution of the United States of America was written. Sorry, Mr. Trump, but every vote counts today.
Pennsylvania carries a large piece of the electoral pie and could be the punctuation mark on a Joe Biden victory. Joe Biden is once again urging voters to be patient, taking pause to remind the nation a deadly pandemic was still taking too many American lives.
Our hearts go out to each and every family that has lost a loved one to this terrible disease. The count is being completed, and we'll know very soon.
The US broke another global record, the 3rd in a week, with more than 114,000 new cases. But the president's attention is elsewhere. Of the many lawsuits his campaign has filed, one of them is here, demanding a freeze to the counting of mail-in ballots received in Pennsylvania after Election Day.
In Philadelphia, observers have been kept far away, very far away, so far that people are using binoculars.
Donald Trump's challenge to stop the count isn't likely to succeed, but he has won another case, allowing his staffers to more closely watch the counting of ballots.
We're going to go in here right now. We're going to start watching what's going on. And what you will see is the Democrats are going to try and stop this from happening.
But international election observers and state officials alike say they've seen nothing alarming.
No proof, no really concrete material could be found, what could be seen as a base for these allegations.
The strength of the integrity of this vote is really unparalleled.
What are you protesting?
I'm protesting illegal counting.
Illegal counting?
Yeah, illegal votes. What are you talking about? The whole country, there's proof everywhere.
Bitter divisions which look set to endure. Catherine Diss, ABC News, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Meanwhile, the federal opposition leader wants the Prime Minister to pick up the phone and call Donald Trump directly and advise him to respect America's democratic processes. Anthony Albanese made the unconventional appeal after President Trump made those unfounded claims in the White House briefing room. Mr Albanese says Scott Morrison must put pressure on his US counterpart to allow a free and fair election.
Scott Morrison has a close relationship with President Trump. We saw that when he attended the de facto campaign rally in Ohio with President Trump. He should be contacting President Trump and conveying Australia's strong view that democratic processes must be respected.
Mr Morrison said yesterday that he has great confidence in the institutions of the United States and would respect whatever decision Americans make.